Okay, so what you're seeing here is the official Star Trek The Next Generation Build the USS Enterprise NCC 1701D. I generally just called it Build the Enterprise because it was easier and snappier to say on a daily basis, but that's the full name of the product. What you see here is the selling face for the product. This is what you would see on your newsagent's shelf. It's a lot bigger than a magazine. This is actually a cardboard box. It's quite a substantial box, well over an inch thick. It's pretty big, and that's because it's carrying a very large component of the Enterprise model that was a key part of this product. In this instance, it's a very large piece of the saucer section. Issue 2 came with some deck slices, so it was a lot more traditionally magazine sized. It was a lot of a smaller package. A later issue, issue 4, actually came with this lower section of the warp nacelle, minus the Bussard collector. So because that was quite a chunky piece, it was kind of like in a shoebox style package. So the packaging differed depending on what the model component would be. So the main focus of the selling face is obviously a very big picture of the Enterprise. You might be forgiven for thinking that this is a stock image of the ship from TNG, but it's actually not. This is a picture of the model that you would be building up if you bought this collection. As you can see, it's a very, very detailed model. You see all the pattern on the hull, the windows, escape pod hatches, and so on. It's also a very, very big model. If you see here, it's 1/900th scale. It's 72 centimetres long. So it's a very, very cool, very big replica of the Enterprise. Just down here, there's a smaller picture that kind of gives a good idea of just how big it is. You can see two hands there slotting a slice of the deck into the model of the ship. Part of the exterior hull comes away to allow that to happen. And you can also see there are areas in the ship, in the warp nacelles, here, and in the saucer, that are illuminated. The model was actually illuminated from within, so it all lit up. If all the hull was in place, you would see light coming from the windows. So it's very, very, very cool piece of kit. Over here, this is a blueprint image. I'll come to that later on, but basically the product was comprised of 3 different parts. There was obviously the model was the main part, but there's also a blueprint sheet that was, I think it was a smidgen smaller than A1 sized, but it's still very, very big, comparable to the pocketbooks blueprints from the mid-90s. And the other part of this product was a magazine. So it was kind of like a technical manual that would build up with every issue. And we could explore all the technology, all the rooms, all the hardware and that sort of stuff that you would find on the Enterprise. So I'll open this up now and have a look inside. This is, what you see here is the actual magazine itself. It's gummed into the box. This product is designed to be pulled apart, so you can file it. This image, this cover image, I think you'll agree, it's a beautiful, beautiful image of the ship. All of our covers were created specifically for this product. They were created by VFX artists that worked on Star Trek. In this instance, this was created by Gabe Kerner, who a very familiar name to Star Trek fans. He's worked on Enterprise, he's worked on a lot of other science fiction shows and films. We asked him to create an image of the Enterprise in space dock, kind of before it's launched. So, as you can see here, there's a space dock facility. It's very much like the one we saw in Star Trek The Motion Picture. There's a work bee buzzing around the ship, and you can kind of see that the ship is powered down. This is before it set out on its mission of exploration. This is before encounter at Farpoint. So the warp nacelles are powered down. The saucer impulse engines are powered down. The main impulse engine is powered down. So this is it before Captain Picard took command, and it's a really cool image. It gives a good idea of sort of like, this is the ship, this is what you're going to build, and it's huge and it's kind of epic. So yeah, that's a really nice image. Inside is obviously a contents page. It's, as you can see, apart from headings, it's all in Japanese. All of the text for this product was created in English. I wrote all of this text in English, and it was then sent over to our Japanese colleagues who translated it all, ready to go on sale in Japan. So off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what this said now, but somewhere I have copies of it in English. Over here we have the series. It's called the series guide, but generally we call it a boost. The boost, you get a boost with every new part work. Its job is to sort of show readers what they're going to get if they collect this series. It gives a good indication. So, for example, here the main focus is a massive image of the Enterprise. This is the model you're going to get. So it's kind of saying, you buy every part of this collection, and you'll get this huge, awesome model of the ship. So that's kind of the first thing you see. So that's a pretty good proposition. If I turn the page over, you can see again a similar angle of the ship, but it's showing some of the exterior hull removed to show the decks within. All of these deck slices are clear perspex pieces, and they're laser etched with the blueprint plans of the ship's decks. So they're incredibly detailed. The main shuttle bay, I think it's on deck 4, for example. There were actually shuttlecraft and shuttle pods etched onto the deck. The cetacean pods, the cetacean tanks that are mentioned in the show but never seen. Here we had whales and dolphins laser etched onto them, so that was really, really good. You can see here the warp nacelle, all lit up. Some electronic gizmos here, so the bus HUD collector would illuminate. So yeah, that's even something that is relatively small in comparison to the saucer. It still has a lot of stuff in it. Does stuff. Really good. Over here, you'll see. This is kind of like a lifestyle image. It kind of goes, look, here's my swanky apartment. There's my high-end stereo. There's my glimpse of the Tokyo skyline. And here's my massive model of the Enterprise, all lit up and looking very cool, sitting on my coffee table. It's a good model. Takes up a lot of room, so hopefully you would have a big swanky Tokyo apartment to fit it in. But it looks good all lit up. Just quickly down here, I just want to show you that basically as complex as the model was with all the deck. All the individual decks slotted in, you could still actually separate the saucer section. So you could display the ship in its connected or separated configuration. Both sections had a stand, so there's a stand there for the star drive section, and you can see a stand there for the saucer. So it was purely down to the preference of whoever was collecting and building this model as to how they wanted to display it. Over here, as on the next spread, you get another indication of just how this model comes together. So this is kind of an exploded view of the model Enterprise. So you can sort of see the various components, the exterior hull, for example here, exterior of the warp nacelle, elements that fit within the warp nacelle, and so on. And these are all representative of the decks that you would get, the pieces of the decks that would slot together. And then of course there's a metal spine that holds everything in place. What I should say though is that as complex as this looks, the product was actually designed to be put together by people with very limited model making skills. I'm rubbish at making models. If you give me a plastic model kit and a tube of glue, you will get back a messy ball of plastic covered in glue. It would look nothing like what I was supposed to be building. But with this, all you really needed, the only tool you really needed was a screwdriver that would come with one of the issues. So basically they were saying that regardless of your skill level, you could put this model together and at the end you would have a massive 72cm long model of the Enterprise. To be honest, they could have used the advertising strapline, it's so easy to put together. Tim can do it because as I said, my model making skills are very limited, and I could have made this. So that's good. If I turn over the page again, here's another spread showing more shots of the model. Obviously, we're focusing on the model because it's the biggest sort of element of the product. Here, it's kind of going into the detail of the model. You can see the Aztecing pattern on the hull of the ship. There were hours and hours and hours of discussion about how to get this perfect for the product. The Japanese team who engineered the model were very keen for this to be as accurate to the screen model, to the shooting model that they used on TNG. So there was long discussions about the particular Pantone colours to replicate that Aztecing pattern as precisely as possible. And here you can see escape pod hatches. You possibly can't see quite so well, but each escape pod hatch has its own individual number. And there are very, very many of those scattered across the hull of the ship, and they're all uniquely identified, which is very cool. Just down here quickly, I wanted to say there's a picture there of a person who's very familiar to Star Trek fans. That's Rick Sternbach. This product would have been impossible without Rick. He was on board from the very beginning, and he was vital to it. He worked very closely with the Japanese team, engineering or finessing the details of the model as they engineered the various pieces. He updated and revised very heavily his pocketbooks blueprints from the mid-90s. So there was an incredible level of detail added to those on top of what you would have seen if you'd bought the pocket blueprints. And I worked very closely with him on the magazine section of this. He supplied us with pen and ink sketches to create artwork. He supplied us with pages and pages of notes, annotations for individual components, notes for what was on every deck, notes for unseen pieces of technology. So really, it would have been impossible without Rick. Basically, they say you should never meet your heroes. I was a big fan of Rick's work from the early days of TNG when I was just a kid, and going into this project, knowing I was going to be working so closely with him, there's always the worry that your hero is not going to meet your expectations. Rick totally contradicted that. He was absolutely wonderful to work with, complete joy to work with. Always very, very helpful, always eager to sort of show as much as we could, and just brilliant to work with. So yeah, I think the one thing I take away from this project is the fact that I had a brilliant experience working with Rick. So yeah, that was an absolute pleasure. Over the page, we move on from the model itself to show the blueprints. As I said, these are a key component of this product. There were 100 blueprint sheets in total. 42 of those would be on the individual decks. So every deck would have its own blueprint sheet. Then on top of that, there were exterior views. As you can see here, this is the dorsal. So there were dorsal, ventral, port and starboard, and fore and aft. So you had 4 exterior sheets. After that came a cross-section. Rick created this incredible cross-section of the Enterprise. It was so detailed. You could see individual panels on corridor walls. You could see consoles in different rooms. Right down to the tiniest components in sort of like engineering. It was so detailed that if you zoomed in at the leading edge of Deck 10, you could actually see Guinan standing behind the bar in 10 forward. She had a very distinctively shaped hat, and yeah, it was wicked. It was really cool. Because you obviously got 100 blueprint sheets, the publishers created this box that your sheets would be stored in, so they wouldn't get torn or tattered or anything like that. So that was great. So that's the blueprint sheets. I'll go into those in more detail later on. Over here, the boost or the series guide rather, goes into looking at the magazine pages. I won't talk about these too much here because I'll be going through them a little bit later on. But basically, the magazine was split into 6 individual strands. There's Tour of Deck, Critical Systems, Apparatus, Mission Logs, and over the page, Star Trek Memories, and Step by Step. So there were 6 strands. There would be 100 pages in each strand. So you would have 100 pages of Apparatus, you would have 100 pages of Star Trek Memories. So in total, this product would build up to 600 pages of material. 400 of those would be in universe, 100 pages of behind-the-scenesy stuff, and 100 pages of how to build your model. So that's good. Over here, this is a gum. As I said earlier, it's a gummed part work. So the pages are designed to be taken apart. As you can see, it's actually coming apart there. It's very easily pulled apart. And the idea is that when you get each issue, you tear these pages away. They come away easily. As you can see, there's holes punched in them. And the idea is that with issue 2, you got a binder and divider cards. So as your collection grows week after week, you would pull the magazine apart and you would file those individual cards in their sections. So you would have, as you can see, you have the Tour of Deck section, the Critical Systems, Apparatus, Mission Logs, Star Trek Memories, and so they would build up over time to create an incredible reference work. I believe you would get 4 binders over the lifetime of the part work, and so you would by issue 100 you would have 4 binders worth of material guiding you around the Enterprise, showing you the different technology aboard it, and stuff like that. So it's quite a hefty reference work. Over here we have this is basically the last page of the boost. It's the end of the boost, and it shows you what you're getting in the next few weeks. So up here we have issue 2. So there we have our selling face. This would be what you would see on your newsagent's shelf. Another view of the model Enterprise. This is the magazine cover. We intentionally kept our magazine covers clean. We have the luxury of, because the magazine isn't selling. It's not what you see on your newsagent's shelf. The selling face does the job of being emblazoned with pictures and text and stuff like that. What you would kind of see in a more traditional magazine. Because our magazine was within the selling face, we could keep those images quite clean without any extraneous detail. So here you see issue 2 had another cover by Gabe Kerner. This is kind of based on an image of the refit Enterprise from the motion picture. We had a transparency that showed the Enterprise at that angle, and we thought it'd be kind of fun to replicate that with the Ent-D. And just from that tiny image, I think you can see Gabe did an incredible job. Very, very highly detailed model. There's nothing in the back. It's a starry background, no planets or nebulas or anything like that. But the ship really stands out. Really looks good. As you can see here, it briefly lists what you're going to get in issue 2. So your Tour of Deck will be Deck 2. Your Critical Systems will be the Captain's Chair. Apparatus is a lifeboat, that was very cool. We created a lifeboat from the Ent-D. They were never seen in the show. They differed greatly from the lifeboats that were seen being released from the Enterprise E in First Contact and from the lifeboats aboard Voyager. It was very cool. We rendered it in CG, and we did a cutaway so you could see the interior, and it was awesome. It was really, really good. I've been a Star Trek fan for years, and just sort of seeing that unseen section of the ship brought to life, it G'd me up. It looked really, really good. Your mission logs will be the next 2 instalments in the episode guide. Star Trek Memories, we had an interview with Peter Lauritsen, who was a very key figure behind the scenes on TNG and on some of the films. Going down to issue 3, you can see again there's a selling face, a magazine cover here. It's come out. You can't see it too well. It's a bit dark here. But basically, issue 3's cover was supplied to us by Rob Bonchoon, who also worked on the VFX for the show. he did some really awesome images. We're all very familiar with what the Enterprise D looks like, and Rob was confronted with the task of creating these incredible images for what we intended to be up to 100 issues, and he just threw out some stunning images. It's a shame I can't show them all to you, but he did some fantastic work, absolutely brilliant. Contents here, you can see Tour of Deck is Deck 4. Critical Systems, we explored the command division, the role of the command staff aboard the ship. The apparatus was the Jeffries tube, so we rendered up an image of a Jeffries tube. Some more mission logs, and Star Trek Memories was an interview with Michael Westmore, who was Star Trek's makeup supervisor and created all those incredible aliens we saw in every episode. And finally, issue 4, again, selling face, beautiful image of the Enterprise by Rob. Contents, the Tour of Deck was Deck 8. Critical Systems was the Master Systems display in main engineering, which is the pool table. We had a CG render of the pool table, which looked brilliant. Apparatus was a medical tricorder. Again, we rendered that in the CG. At first glance, you'd think it was just a photograph of the prop. It was that detailed, but no, it's really cool. It's a CG tricorder. It's awesome. Mission logs, more of our episode guide. And Star Trek Memories, we did some Enterprise concept designs there. So we had concept art that was created by Andrew Probert, who designed the Enterprise. We had some of his concept sketches, so we put those together. So it gives you an idea of how the design for the Enterprise D evolved towards the finished product. As you can see here, there's some photo of the model components you get. Issue 4 has that big chunky warp nacelle that I mentioned earlier, and you also get a piece of the deck. So that's what you would get coming up. And of course, after that, it then goes into the magazine, which I will do in a separate video.